Becoming really good at something isn't about luck or doing it once in a while. Instead, it's about something they call deliberate practice. This means practicing with a clear focus and intention to improve a skill. Researchers observed that successful people shared a common trait. They were focused on developing just one skill at a time. They didn't try to be good at everything. Instead, they carefully chose one skill that would benefit them the most at that particular stage of their career. For example, if someone worked in a big company, they would look at what the top performers were doing exceptionally well. Then they would pick one skill, like a sniper aiming for a target, and make it their goal to master it. They would create a plan and work on that skill every single day until they became really good at it. This deliberate and focused approach helped them advance in their careers. Now, how would they know if they became really good at the skill they were focusing on? Well, it's when others start to notice and tell them how good they are at it. They might hear things like, "Wow, you're amazing at negotiating," or "You're really good at getting appointments," or "You're so good at closing sales." These compliments show that they've mastered that skill. Once they reach this point, they can confidently say, "Yes, I've got this skill down." Then they start thinking about what skill will be the most helpful for them to work on next. They do this every year, always focusing on improving one skill at a time. Lots of people find themselves in this position. Roughly 1.5% of the population begins their journey into the working world. It's like a huge marathon where everyone lines up at the starting line. Then, when the signal is given, like the sound of a gun going, bang, everyone starts running. Just like in a marathon, some people sprint ahead quickly. In this race, which is really about earning money, most people end up somewhere in the middle. But unfortunately, there are also some who lag far behind, unable to keep up with the pace. So it's kind of like a big race where some zoom ahead, some stick to the middle, and some sadly fall behind. There was a really long study that lasted for 25 years, and it was completed recently. I believe it's one of the best studies ever done about how people become successful. They were curious about something: how come some people earn such big paychecks? These people are making nearly $1 million each month just by going to work. And if they ever lost their job, another company would quickly hire them and pay them a massive $10 million every year. That's a huge amount of money. So the researchers wanted to know, how does this happen? Wanted to figure out why some people are so successful in life. They thought maybe these successful people were just super smart, or had some special talents or qualities that helped them achieve so much. So they decided to dig into the records from when these successful people were in school and their first couple of jobs. They wanted to see if there was anything special about them that stood out. And guess what the researchers discovered? These successful people were actually just like everyone else when they first started out. They weren't any smarter or more talented than the average person. Even at the beginning of their careers, they were just average people. Nothing extraordinary about them. But then something interesting happened. They all began using one particular strategy. And let me tell you, this strategy has the power to transform your life and your career forever. And what's really surprising is that it's so straightforward, you might find it hard to believe. When these individuals started their first job, they had a smart approach. They would go straight to their boss and have a chat. They'd say something like, "Hey boss, I really want to do well here and make a meaningful impact. What's one skill I could work on that would really help me succeed and contribute more effectively to the company?" This simple question opened up a world of opportunities for them. When they asked their boss for advice, some managers would often suggest specific skills that could make them much more valuable in their job. These skills could be things like negotiation, teamwork, sales, or understanding financial statements. The boss would explain that being really good at one of these skills could set them apart from others. So they would listen carefully and take note of the skill the boss recommended. They treated it like a goal, just like how you plan out your lessons for school subjects. For instance, if someone wanted to become a doctor or an engineer, they do know the courses they needed to take to get there. Similarly, they'd create a plan for developing this skill. They figure out which books were the best to read and which audio programs the most helpful. Then they do make sure to include these resources in their plan for improvement. Another important thing they did was ask about courses and seminars. that could help them improve the skill they were focusing on. They were eager to learn and grow, so they wanted to know what educational opportunities were available to them. And lastly, they were curious about what actions they could take every day to get better at this skill. They understood the importance of consistent practice and wanted to know how they could incorporate it into their daily routine, so they would show up to work every day with a clear focus on developing this one skill, much like a skilled sniper aiming for a target, rather than someone spraying bullets randomly like a machine gunner. They knew it might take some time, maybe a month, 3 months, or even a year, but they were committed to working on that skill every single day until they mastered it. And here's the magic number: 2 hours per day, 5 days per week. That's a total of 10 hours. They found that spending 2 hours each day, focused on studying and practicing a single skill for 5 days a week, was the key to success. So they realized that dedicating this amount of time every day to personal study and improvement was crucial. It might seem simple, but this consistent effort really made a difference in their progress and success. In today's world, having both knowledge and skills is super important if you want to succeed. These things help you earn money. Your knowledge and your ability to use that knowledge effectively to achieve something that customers are willing to pay for is really important. Unfortunately, some people who lose their jobs don't realize that they haven't kept their knowledge and skills up to date enough to justify the amount of money they were earning. Things are changing so fast these days. And if you're not constantly learning and improving, you can quickly become outdated. This means that a job you have today might not be needed anymore very soon. Like in a week, a month, or a year. Sometimes, new technology can make a whole type of work not necessary in just a couple of years. So it's important to keep thinking about what you might do for work next. Ask yourself often, what do you think your next job could be? What will my next job be? You probably already know that most people who start working today will switch jobs about 14 times and might even change their entire career up to 6 times. They could end up working in as many as 6 different fields throughout their life. So what do you think your next job or career might be? Now here's something important. What can you do right now to improve your skills and abilities so you can make enough money and live the way you want? To unlock your next career opportunity, focus on being really good at what you do. Aim to be the best in your current job, then strive to be the best in your entire field. Once you reach the top, work hard to stay there and make your life even better. What do you need to do for this? What kind of person do you need to become? Here's a fantastic question to consider. If you could master one skill or a group of skills really well, which would make the biggest positive difference in your future? Your task is to figure that out. You might need to talk to your boss or do some research to find the answer. Once you know, do everything you can to learn and improve those skills. It's all about identifying what will make the biggest positive impact on your life and focusing on mastering that. You should constantly ask yourself, where do you see your future in your career? Where do you think your career is headed? And what about your industry? Where is it heading? What about your specific job or the company you work for? Where are they headed? By figuring out where your future lies and anticipating it, you can prepare yourself to adapt and excel. If you don't learn how to handle change well, you'll find yourself getting swept away by it. Instead of taking control of what's happening, you'll feel like you're at the mercy of whatever comes your way. It's like being tossed around by the waves of life. But if you become really good at dealing with change, you can navigate through life's ups and downs with much more ease and confidence. In everything we've discussed about making more money, advancing in your job quickly, and reaching your full potential, there's one crucial thing. Never stop learning. I can't stress enough how important this is. I've met people from all around the world who come to America with nothing. And because they keep learning, they achieve amazing things and build wonderful lives for themselves. So take control of your life. Think of yourself as the CEO of your own company. Think of yourself as a leader who sets the example. Be the benchmark in your world and be the role model for your children. If you want your kids to have a great life, you need to lead by example and keep learning yourself. See yourself as someone others look up to, just like all successful leaders do. So there's 168 hours in a week, no matter where you are. Now, what we're suggesting here is that if you really want to become one of the best in your field, making loads of money and having a super successful life, dedicate 10 hours of that week to improving yourself. That's it. And guess what? This strategy is what all the top achievers follow. I've had the chance to work with CEOs of some of the largest companies globally. And you know what? They spend about 2 to 3 hours every week reading and getting better at what they do. Do you know who the third richest man in the world is? His name is Warren Buffett. Back when Warren was just 14 and 15 years old, he worked as a newspaper delivery boy. Every morning at 5 o'clock, when it was still dark outside and everyone else was asleep, Warren would be out delivering newspapers. He kept this up for over 2 years. He delivered a massive 200,000 newspapers during that time, earning just 1 cent for each one. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Instead of spending